In 1999, this newspaper article launched titled The Painted Mouth. Singers, models, actresses, your favorite celebrities, and their favorite lip products. Some of these have been discontinued, some still exist today, and some of them I have found dupes for. So we're gonna try on some of the most popular lip products from the 1990s. And our very first lipstick looks like blood. Or so I think, because this is called Truco Blood Red, and this is one of Madonna's favorite lipsticks. Now, I found an article as far back as 1994 saying how much she loved this red lipstick. Now, she also loved MAC Russian Red, but we'll get to that later. First, we have to swatch Truco Blood Red. Now, not only did Madonna love this, but I think this was a very popular color because I saw Dick Page, the incredible legendary makeup artist, mention using this as rouge. And it also took me about 2 years to find this. I was searching eBay, Etsy, all of the websites, and one of them finally came up, and I have had this sitting on my desk for months. I cannot wait to try this on. We need to see if this indeed looks like blood. Okay, the moment of truth. Oh my gosh, actually, to find a sort of dried blood red color is very difficult today, where it has that sort of warmth to it. It's almost like a brick tone, not like fresh pumping vampire bite your neck purple blood.
Teresa's a vampire.
I have a little bit of MAC Mahogany lip liner on, which also existed in the 1990s. I think it should pair quite well with this. The pigment. Why were 90s lipsticks just so damn smooth? That is such a beautiful red color. Now, I did apply this with full opacity, a few layers, but the interesting thing is that color that happens when you shear it out. Like, there's so much dimension to this lipstick. Now, I read that 50% of the sales went to the American Red Cross, hence this being called blood red. Okay, when you apply it really sheer, it almost looks like a rusty, bloody color. It's really interesting. It's still bright, very pretty color, very unique. I have to say, you really can't find colors like this, but Mob Beauty does make a blood red lip color, although it might be a bit deeper and a bit more matte, but I will put that up on the screen. Okay, we're moving on to the next lipstick and lip liner, these two coming from MAC. You know my love for MAC Spice lip liner, but I am not the only one. It is mentioned so many times in this article, specifically supermodel Linda Evangelista. Now, she was Canadian, and of course MAC launched in Canada. So in 1991, her and Kevyn Aucoin talked about this lip pencil, and it basically went global and everybody bought it. And of course, Spice is still beloved today, although it's a bit orange. Now, I want to swatch these two because I have the original 1990 launch of Spice lip liner and the 1998. The original Spice was a little warmer than people think. This is what it looked like. It's still not as warm as the Spice today. And right next to it, I'm gonna do the 1998 Spice because you can see it then shifts a little bit cooler. And today's Spice lip liner, of course, for the final comparison, and it's orange. As you can see though, I still really enjoy Spice lip liner. I just have to layer Cool Spice lip liner on top, and then you get very close to the original Spice lip liner. But as you can see, it changed throughout the years. Now, because this article is from 1999, I am gonna try on the 1998 Spice lip pencil. And if I'm honest with you, I had to go to a runway show the other day and I wore this to the show. I still sometimes wear very discontinued products just because I have never found an exact dupe of this. Of course, when Cool Spice launched, it was meant to get as close to the Spice lip liner as possible, but it was actually much cooler than the original. But it's pretty damn close to that very first 1990 Spice. So we have Cool Spice, 1990 Spice, 1998 Spice, and then at the end, we have the modern day Spice pencil. A lot of spice going on. Let me get this one on my lips. Now, there is a technique that we all used back in the 90s. I mean, I still use this. You put a little bit of foundation on top of your lips, do your lip liner, and then go in. Well, we used to use Studio Fix from MAC because it was talc based. I have the Lancome Dual Finish powder, and I will just take a little sponge, dab on some powder, and then you reapply your lipstick. So you do 2 coats of lipstick and it's not going anywhere. Because if you look at the 90s, everything was super matte and super sharp and precise. And that's how we did it. I love Spice Lip Liner so much. I love the way this looks. Now, another lipstick that's mentioned in this article many times is the color Twig by MAC. So Twig actually launched in 1990, but its original name was Twiggy because this came out with the 1960s Supermodels collection. So it was Verushka, Shrimpton, and Bardot. Brigitte Bardot, Jean Shrimpton, and of course the supermodel Verushka and Twiggy. But Twiggy's people complained and they had to rename it to Twig. This not only was one of the most popular lipsticks in the 90s, I sold a ton of these when I worked at MAC in the early 2000s. I think it's still popular today, although it's a bit more mauve, and they've even changed the name now. It's like Twig Twist, which kind of makes sense because there's been so much shift over the years that now you sort of have to rename it. And if you wondered why my lipstick was so beat up, I'm gonna dissect this. I've taken this out and I'm gonna use the bottom because I think that the top has sort of faded and become slightly more orange. I remember Twig being just a touch more mauve. So I'm literally gonna take the lipstick and apply it like this. But let's see what one of the most popular lipsticks, kind of all times, actually looks like. It does make sense that this is a little more brown. It was more brown in 1990. Twiggy always had this sort of nude lip, like if she just dabbed on a little bit of kind of a concealer lip, but it was like her natural nude. So this color does make sense. It's very 90s, and you can see a lot of celebrities love this tone. Twig is such a good wearable everyday color, especially paired with Spice Lip Liner. There are a lot of MAC lipsticks I can do, but I will come back to MAC because we also have a ton of Urban Decay. Urban Decay launched in 1995, and one of its top selling shades is the color Gash. Now in this article, Gwen Stefani, of course she was like an icon for makeup in the 90s, said that she loved Urban Decay's Gash lipstick. I've read some reports where she wore it on a Saturday Night Live episode and it kind of like launched the lipstick at that time. So I've never tried on Gash. I know they just relaunched the eyeshadow, but I'm very curious to see how this looks. It is of course a gorgeous like frosty red. Now the problem with these Urban Decay lipsticks is when I try to swatch them from the top, we'll see if we can do a swatch. They're usually pretty gummy. Oh no, she's going on beautifully. Of course, it's called Gash, and it does sort of resemble that same dried blood color that is so interesting, but it has a frost to it. Okay, let's try on Urban Decay Gash. Oh, that color is so interesting. That looks like a Christmas present on my lips. That is so stunning. I had never seen what Gash looked like on, and now I understand why it was so popular, because you really don't see frosty red lipsticks, but also while it's swatched kind of like a bloody red on my hand on the lips, it almost has a little bit more of a purpley burgundy tinge. That is so, so beautiful. I am really impressed with Gash. You know, Urban Decay recently brought out the Gash eyeshadow that was so popular in the 2000s, that sort of emo red color. But they could probably bring out Gash lipstick, and I think it would do really well because there's really nothing like this that exists today. Nothing I can think of. Now in 1994, Chanel's Vamp nail polish launched, and it was such a huge success. It made like the Times 100 bestsellers, probably of the 21st century. But Chanel Vamp lipstick would launch in 1995. It was not the same huge success as Vamp nail polish, but it was on this list, and Drew Barrymore said that it was one of her favorite lipsticks. Now my Vamp looks pretty worse for wear, but I have tried this on in a few videos. I absolutely love this color, and it's so crazy because they relaunched Rouge Noir, which of course was the French version of Vamp. This one is literally called Vamp. This would have been in the cream formula, and this was the first Vamp lipstick that launched in 1995. But yes, we have to try it on. Of course, if you guys watch a lot of my videos, you've seen me try on Vamp, so I'll make this one quick. But it is one of my favorite deep, dark cream lipsticks of all time. What I love about Chanel Vamp specifically is that it's almost like the inside of a black cherry, like when you bite into a black cherry, because you can see that there's depth to it. And like if you take a little out of the center, you see how you get a color change to it. It's like from red to black red. This formula has gotten quite sticky over the years, and they did change this into a Hydra-based formula. So of course you had the original Vamp, and then it was called Rouge Noir. When they put this in the Hydra-based formula, it became a bit more sheer. She is used and beloved, and it really got this sort of brown, blackened red. We'll swatch the original right next to it. The original was so much more deep, but it still had that sort of blackened red, but you can see then it becomes a little bit more of a brown undertone. It's always interesting to see how these lipsticks evolve, because as they change formulas or run out of certain ingredients or trends change, you will see changes in these lipsticks. But I really do love the original. Just for the hell of it, I'm gonna pop a little bit of the other Rouge Noir Vamp on the bottom. But look how gorgeous. Still quite deep, quite gorgeous, but you can sheer it out a bit more. God, I love Chanel Vamp. It is one of my favorite lipsticks, one of my favorite nail polish colors, and I'm glad that they recently brought it back, although I couldn't compare it because it sold out so fast. I did not get my hands on it. My lips are getting slightly stained pink, but that is a good thing because we are going to talk about Angelina Jolie's favorite lip products. And the reason she liked them is because she had a lot of natural lip color, and she would use these to tone down a sort of concealer lip, but more gray. Now, I've been in touch with her makeup artist, Mattei, who worked with her a ton in the 90s and early 2000s and still works with her. And he told me that she would wear Guerlain di Ventura number 480. I have never found this lipstick. I have looked for many years, but he even talks about this in an article in a magazine. And this lipstick, later on, he would remake it because it got discontinued, and he loved the color and obviously used it on Angelina Jolie. So he remade it with 3 custom colors. So this is the remake number 480 Guerlain, and this should match the color exactly because he worked with the lab to get it perfect. You can still order this today on 3 Custom Colors website, but we're going to try on Angelina Jolie's very beige lipstick to tone down that natural lip color. Now, I don't have Angelina Jolie's lips, but we have overdrawn as much as we can. But this color is just so stunning, so wearable, and this formula is really amazing and creamy. I should mention too, I paired this again with the 1998 Spice lip liner because it just works with so many. I've put this on a bit heavier, but I believe the way Angelina would wear some of these lipsticks is probably slightly blotted with a tissue because she had such amazing full lips. She didn't need a ton of lipstick, but it's such a good beigey shade. And I have to tell you, I did look for a dupe and I have not found one. It is just a perfect softening of a natural lip. The formula is incredible, but yes, if you buy these, I think you have to buy 2 when you buy them. I got 2, but it's okay because I love this color, so I'm gonna keep using it. When you go on 3 Custom Colors website, you can select from discontinued shades. They have a ton of them. You just look up Guerlain 480. You will find this lip color if you love the way this looks, and I certainly do. Now, another lipstick that Angelina Jolie loved, she actually talks about in a magazine article. This Allure magazine came out in 2001, but the lipstick Folio launched in the 90s, and it's a very gray tone. Of course, you guys have probably heard about it because I have talked about it in the past. Crazy thing is, when I talked about Folio lipstick, it went pretty viral on every app, and MAC actually relaunched it. So you can still get Folio today, and the color is extremely similar. So in the article, she says, I use MAC Folio, but anybody who doesn't have a bright red mouth shouldn't put it on because they'll just look dead. Let me try this on and show you. It is literally corpse. I'm gonna put this on quite opaque so you can see how gray it actually is. But of course, again, if you have a lot of color to your lips and you put this on and you were to dab it or just blot it with your finger, add a little more lip liner. But you see how that could really tone down a very red mouth. Even with my mouth stained, my mouth is not super red. But a lot of people out there, if you have a lot of color, a gray tone lightly dabbed on will give you that kind of soft concealer lip effect, or even sort of beigey and just tone down your natural color. But it actually looks gorgeous. Now, just to compare the modern MAC Folio, I mean, when you look at them side by side, they kind of don't really match in the tube. But when you swatch them, they look really similar. It's definitely giving that cadaver vibe. They're both very gray. I would say the original Folio is a little bit more gray, but they got pretty close. So if you want Angelina Jolie's favorite lipstick, you have a more beige version or you have a more grayish version, but I think both of them are incredible. Bobbi Brown would launch her iconic 10-piece lipstick collection in 1991, and these all included very nude, warm brown tones, which she wasn't the first one to do it, but I'll get to that later. But it still was pretty revolutionary for that time. 1991, you're just coming out of the 80s, the fuchsia, the pink, the red, the blues. So this whole nude thing in makeup started to take over in the 90s, partially due to Bobbi Brown. And one of the colors mentioned in this article is by Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan was a megastar in the 1990s, and she says that she wore Bobbi Brown lipstick. And I know that brown was a very popular color, so we're gonna try this on, but a lot of people mention other Bobbi Brown tones, and I saw a Bobbi Brown nude, so I actually put on the nude lip liner. I'm not sure if it came in a lipstick, but this is what the color looks like. It's very similar to Spice lip liner. It might just be a little bit lighter, to be honest, but it's a really, really beautiful color. Okay, let's see what Bobbi Brown lipstick looks like, because yeah, I want to look like 90s Meg Ryan. This lipstick is so much warmer than I would have imagined. This combo with this lip liner, brown and nude, I find this so wearable, so beautiful. Like this color. I like it a lot, actually. This is a really interesting, very warm nude brown color. And if Meg Ryan loved it, I love it. So I mentioned Bobbi Brown was not the first to do these warm nudes, because in the 70s you had the warm nudes, but you go in the 80s, I mean, the colors were crazy. Of course, fuchsia, purple, pink, blue, everything was bright and neon. But there were some lipsticks that existed by MAC, like the color taupe, as far back as 1988 that I know of, because someone on TikTok was talking about how Kevyn had done the supermodels' faces and they all came in to buy what he used on them, and they were all nude colors, and one of them was taupe lipstick. I don't know how popular this was in the 90s, but I do know because of the story that Kevyn used it. But that was in 1998 that the girls came in to buy this. But in 1989, Kevyn Aucoin would really revolutionize what these nude colors would look like by coming out with the Nakeds by Ultima 2. These are some of my favorite products to collect because we really get to see a sort of take on this lipstick color, taupe, and some other products probably that MAC already had. But he really revolutionized it because nobody knew how to use nude colors until he came out with the Nakeds, and it was advertised. I mean, everything in advertisements in the 1980s up until you see the nudes, it is such a drastic change, and it's 1989. So he really did help define the 1990s, of course, along with Bobbi Brown and a lot of the celebrities I'm talking about here. And this particular color from the Nakeds, this is the color number 10, and I have used this before, as you can see, but it is one of my all-time favorite lipstick shades. And I think before I try this on, I have to show you my all-time favorite lip liner. I know you probably think it's Spice, and technically Spice came out a year before this. This is by Inui. It was made by Kevyn Aucoin in 1992. MAC launched Spice either 90s or 91, and this was his take on Spice lip liner. It's cooler, it's a little bit more mauve, and it is my all-time favorite lip liner. And I have this, of course, in my collection, but I also own Kevyn's his own Inui lip pencil. I have it in the vault, so I don't have it here with me now, but I'm going to try this on, and then we're going to try on Kevyn's Nakeds number 10. Now, of course, Linda Evangelista mentions how much she loves Spice lip liner, but when Kevyn launched this, you can see her using it in so many pictures. You can see Kevyn using it on people, and even when I worked with Pat McGrath in the 2010s, this was in her kit. You really could not find it, so it wouldn't have been a global product that everyone used. Makeup artists would get it because they would go to Japan. You could only find it in Japan. Oh my God, that color. Every time I have to sharpen this pencil, I cry a little bit because like this is the only one I have and I cherish it. And truth be told, I had another one that I sent to a lab and I've had them try to match it. And I'm going on year number 3. They still have not matched the color exactly. And I'm not approving it until it's perfect. So we may all have an Inui lip pencil at some point, hopefully this year. But do you see how it's cooler than MAC Spice? When I tell you I have tried to dupe this pencil for so long and I have never found an exact dupe. It's just the perfect amount of coolness. It's not too gray, it's not too warm, and you can really overdraw the lips. There has never been a color as perfect as the Inui lip pencil. It doesn't even have a name. It's like BR375 or something, but I just love it. It is literally the perfect perfect neutral lip liner. I am still gonna try to make it because we all need to have this in our lives. Now let's go in with the number 10 Nakeds. Now, of course, this did launch in 1989, but it would have been popular in the 90s. I don't know the most popular shade. I just know I have a few and I love this one. You see, this is the perfect amount of cool and warm neutral. You can really overdraw the lips and it doesn't look too much. I'm just so obsessed with this number 10 color. The interesting thing is when Kevyn did launch his own brand in 2001, he had a color called Tatiana Berry that looks so similar to this. The sad thing is there's almost none of it left. I have to be honest, this color actually belonged to Kevyn. This exact lipstick, this was in his kit. It was used pretty well down, and the reason that this is half gone is because I also sent this to a lab because I really want to remake this color. It looks almost exactly like this, but it's a little bit lighter weight. It's not so thick. It's a little more lip balm-esque, but I just think people will love it. And Tatiana Berry was the number 1 shade in the early 2000s at the Kevyn Aucoin counter. And I'm telling you, it's like exactly to the number 10. I just can't swatch it right now. I have to save it. Absolutely obsessed with this combo. Okay, I'm gonna do probably just a couple more because my lips are burning. So let's just do Russian Red. We have to. The reason why Russian Red was so popular is because it was really one of the first ever matte lipsticks. Because back then you really didn't have that word in the lexicon. What you would do is put on a lipstick, blot it with a tissue, and then you could even powder it and it would become matte. This was actually created by using the silicone and silicone breast implants, like silicone dimethicone. I don't think it's in the modern formula. I'm not exactly sure, but when this would dry down, it would literally not come off. It would basically become transfer proof. So it was a very new product for the 90s. Technically it launched in the 80s, but it was so popular in the 90s. Of course, Madonna mentions that she wore it. I know so many people personally who told me that they wore Russian Red in the 90s, so it was insanely popular. We know overdrawing your lips became pretty big in the 90s specifically, and I think with a really matte lipstick, it's much easier to do that and it looks more realistic. I mean, it's just the red of all reds. This is probably one of the most popular lipsticks of all time, and it is just a pure matte red. They do still make Russian Red. I just have this little mini, which I've scraped off to put in a palette. I'll just do a little comparison to the two. Now they have it in an even different formula and a different packaging, but you can see that they're very, very close. If anything, I think that the newer version maybe is just the tiniest touch brighter. I don't know if it's as matte as the original. And it wouldn't necessarily be transfer proof, but this particular formula, you see it just did not budge. So the original 90s formula, if they can't use certain products in it, I understand because products and ingredients get banned as time goes on. But this lipstick still just one of the best reds of all time. Now, I've done a video on this one before. It was Courtney Love's favorite lipstick, but the reason I want to show you this again, because one, I just absolutely love this color, but I did find a really, really close dupe and I do wear it quite often. It's this sort of sheer glossy pinky red. For me in the 90s, Courtney Love was one of my favorites and I listened to the album by Hole over and over again when I was in high school, my teenage angst years. I love Courtney Love, and the fact that she wore Benefit Briefing lipstick, I had to find a dupe for this. As I mentioned, I did a short video, but I did find that Fashion Fair, which is a brand that's technically made for deeper skin tones, was the only one that even got close to this. And this color is called Magenta Mist. This is the Fashion Fair color, and this is Benefit Briefing. And they look so similar, but I love this formula too. And I wear this color a lot. So I don't know how popular Benefit Briefing was in the 90s, but because Courtney Love wore it, I had to find a dupe. I think that they look extremely similar. So yeah, if you like a sort of magenta pinky red with a lot of gloss, Fashion Fair Magenta Mist. One of my faves. Is this $3 lipstick a dupe for MAC Bubbles? Now, Bubbles was very popular in the 90s. It's not on this list from the newspaper article, but I even remember selling a lot of these in 1999. So I found this lipstick, the LA Colors, in the color Pixie Dust. Like I said, $3, and I think it's a dupe. Someone in my comment section told me about this. I wish I could find their comment and thank them because I think it is very similar. This is actually the 1998 packaging for Bubbles, but I do have one from the 90s that's already used. I think it launched in like 1996, but I'm gonna go ahead and swatch Bubbles lipstick so you can see there's so much pigment. It's so glazy but creamy, lots of white frost. And let's swatch the LA Colors Pixie Dust right next to it. I think it's pretty similar. I think that Bubbles might have a little bit more of a glaze to it, but how incredible. $3. I want to try this on and then I'll take off half the lip and try on Bubbles. By the way, I still have on Spice lip liner. That is so frosty and so pretty. And you know what? I think it looks so much like Bubbles. I'm gonna try it on half of my lip. And you guys know that MAC relaunched Bubbles. They did that bring back collection, but I did complain about the formula a little bit because it wasn't as frosty as the original Bubbles. Moment of truth. Oh my God, that's crazy. Bubbles has such an insane amount of pigment. Like really, I have to shear that out to make them match. Let's do a little bit more pixie dust. Bubbles is still more frosty, but it's almost too much. I think if you like a frosty white lipstick, you will love the Pixie Dust for $3. I keep saying $3, but that just blew my mind. But very, very, very similar. Now, I've done videos with this where I used a black lip liner because often that is how we would sell Bubbles. It was a black eyeliner pencil called Ebony from MAC with the Bubbles lipstick. And I love that look together, but this is just paired with Spice lip liner. Okay, so far I haven't tried on any NARS. We haven't gotten to any Dior. We haven't. There are a lot of colors that were really popular during this time, but I think some of the ones I mentioned were probably the most popular. But I think I want to do one more, and this is for ladies with deeper skin. In the article, Jodie Watley says she loves chestnut lip liner, and of course chestnut lip liner was super popular in the 90s, but the lipstick I'm going to pair it with is Bronze Shimmer. I remember selling a ton of bronze shimmers when I worked at MAC, and actually I was talking to my friend Gregory Arlt, and he has been with MAC since almost the beginning, and he also confirmed Bronze Shimmer was probably one of the top selling lipsticks out of all the MAC stores, and this would have looked best on medium to medium deep skin tones. So I don't know how good it's going to look on me, but I'm just desperate to try it because it is so gorgeous. And as you noticed, I kept chestnut around and kept that center light, but this on a fuller lip, oh, I didn't even blend that out, and I love the way that it looks. Oh my God. That is so incredibly gorgeous. Of all the years that I sold this lipstick, I never once thought to try it on, but wow. Wow, that is absolutely stunning. And then you know what you could do? Top it with a clear lip gloss or MAC Oh Baby, although I think that was more of the 2000s, but let's just see how it looks. Gregory also told me that Kevyn Aucoin loved this lipstick. And so you think about the R&B girls back then, Lil' Kim, Missy Elliott, Mary J. Blige. This kind of look was very, very common. Absolutely stunning. My lip is pink, orange, bronze, glossy. It's like destroyed at this point, but I hope you enjoyed that video. As I mentioned, I still want to focus on some NARS and some Dior and just other brands in another video, a lot more Urban Decay. But I think that most of these lipsticks were some of the most popular, especially in the 90s. And of course, according to this article. I hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, like, subscribe, and let me know down below what is your favorite lipstick. I love to know what people are wearing, and especially if you wore any of these in the 90s, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.